You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
We're excited to kick off the summer LawnTOURpreneur series and highlight some of the up-and-comers in the lawn and landscaping industry. Brian is interviewing LawnTOURpreneurs across the country, seeing how they're making money. Listen in as they share how they've set themselves up for success in order to grow a profitable business. And a big thank you to our sponsors, Echo, Equip, and Stable, for partnering with us on the tour and for helping bring you these incredible interviews. You can also see behind the scenes of the tour and get a walkthrough of each guest's business and equipment setup on the Brian's Lawn Maintenance YouTube channel. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
All right, guys, well, we are going to jump right on into it. We got none other than the man, Christian Schlegel. Schlegel, I got it right the first time, bro. It's like
you got it right the first time.
After 5 years of
third podcast, about time, right?
Third podcast, 14th YouTube video, and 4 years of knowing you. So,
yeah.
My gosh, what an embarrassment!
Thanks for having me on, Brian. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, actually, normally we would have done this podcast in person when we were there filming your LawnTOURpreneur series video here. You're actually our wrap-up guest that we have for you on YouTube, and then also the podcast part of this 6-week series, brought to you by Equip, Echo, and Stable. But actually, the day we were there, dude, we filmed like just rough shot. Like we filmed a bunch of stuff in about 2-3 hours. I was actually in and out, airplane ride in, 3 hours of filming, airplane ride out. I didn't have a bunch of time that weekend to commit, but it was the only time that worked for both of our schedules. So we were just trying to get in where we fit in, right? So we took the advantage of filming, in person, obviously. So make sure you guys watch out for Christian's YouTube video later tonight. But I said, hey, we can always podcast over the phone or via Zoom or all these live streaming services or whatever. But any which way, what are you up to today, man? Are you guys working, or what's the scoop since I left?
So today's a rain day for us, actually. So we had a pretty good July. It's actually been cooler than what I would expect, which is, I know, different from what you guys have over there. But our June was crazy hot. I mean, it was in the upper 90s, mid upper 90s almost every day, and the humidity was over like 100 feels like a lot of days, and everything dried up to a crisp. But July was pleasantly. It was hot, but not as hot as I would expect. And so far, August hasn't been terrible either. But today we got a rain day. So we're just knocking out a bunch of administrative stuff. I took 2 of my trucks to get safety tested. In Illinois, you got to have a safety inspection on commercial vehicles every year. And got some parts from our local dealer. Just spending all my money away on the rain day. If you know how it goes, right?
Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah. It's funny because you had texted me this morning like 7:30, and we're all of you guys listening in, like we're all up at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. We're already working, organizing things, getting crews moving, people moving, equipment moving, just off to the races. And so you were texting me at like 7 something, and I was already up, so I was texting you back, and it's like, dude, we just wake up, we just start going, and it was funny because you got Chick-fil-A breakfast, and then you're like about an hour ahead of me, an hour behind me. So, dude, you were up at like 6:30. Holy cow!
Oh yeah, I was the second customer of the day there. I was number 2. We were waiting there for the thing to turn green, and we were in there at 6:30 a.m.
Is that when they open, or is that when you got there?
That's when they open.
Oh my God, dude, that's funny. Well, it's funny because at 7:30 I was at Chick-fil-A, 7:45 probably over here, because I woke up at about 6:30, 7 o'clock, and you started texting me, and I'm like, yeah, I need to get some Chick-fil-A too. And I literally went a mile down the road and got some Chick-fil-A. So influencer marketing, man, you're an influencer, so.
Exactly. I need my 10% kickback.
Yeah. Well, they can make all those checks payable to P.O. Box 930233, Wixom, Michigan. And that's my address. You know what I'm saying? So I still need to get that 1% off you, man. You've been killing the game on social. But well, okay. So here's what we're talking about today, man. We were in Chicago Chicagoland area, you're in the West Burbs, and we shot a ton of video on your new truck and trailer setup. So a lot of you guys have seen Christian grow up on his content, his social media, Instagram. You guys have, a lot of you guys know him in person when we go to Equip and the trade shows, and rightfully so. Like, it's cool seeing this whole evolution because Christian's working hard. He's very, very smart. He's being very intentional with what he's doing with his company, and none of this is by accident. It's you didn't have it all figured out, on day one, but nonetheless, it's been a cool evolution of your business. So when we went over to your place, we filmed the new truck, the new trailer, a couple landscape jobs you were doing, and some new equipment you just purchased. So we've been getting you on the show about once a year or so, and it's been cool seeing the update. So when we left off, I guess is the way to say that. When we last left off, you had the Big Red Wells cargo trailer, and then you had the, was it the new truck already? The white one? Did we have the dump body there?
Yeah, so the white one, I just gotten that probably, couldn't have been much, like, I don't know, maybe a month or two prior to that. So I need you to keep coming out here because it means I'm going to get trucks, like, right before you come, all right? Yeah, we had just gotten the 450.
Are you spending all this money to impress us, or what's the thing? You could just take me out to, Buffalo Wild Wings, man. It doesn't have to be a new truck.
Exactly, right? Yeah, no, just in time for the video.
There you go, right?
Yeah, so we just got in that truck. Maybe you probably came in June or July, so I'd probably had it for about a month or two at the most.
Okay.
This is back. Well, last time you were out here was like 2 years. So 2020. That was I just got in that truck. Very, very, very fortunate that I got it when I did. Like, looking back on it, with the pandemic and all the supply chain issues and all the costs and inflation and all that we're seeing now.
Yep.
I got that dump body within like a month of me ordering it at a discount. And I got the truck at a very fair price for a diesel truck at low mileage. So I'm very fortunate to have that truck and get it when I did, because it was, it was very tight on money at that point because we were just, getting going in the spring. I hadn't had as robust of a snow removal operation, which to be frank gives me a nice little cash boost every spring. So yeah, that's where we left off. I had the one trailer, and then I had the 350 truck that I've had for 4 or 5 years, and then that truck. So fast forward, last year we were really just improving internally on our operations and our quality, and we got a lot more into landscaping, like installs. We don't do any hardscaping really, but we do hardscape maintenance, and so pressure washing, polymeric sand, sealing. And that's as far as we go into the hardscape industry right now. But we got into a lot more installs last year, such as privacy screenings with the arborvitae and that stuff, or plantings. We'll have designs done. I've done some small designs myself. Total, lawn renovations, that type of stuff. So last year, late 2020, and then into last year, that's what we really got into. And then this year, I felt like we've been ironing out a lot of stuff, and I've been really focusing on my numbers this year. Not only because I had to, because to be frank, like, we had some slack in 2020 and early last year in 2021 with where gas and everything was at with all the other prices that I should have been more attentive, but everything was a lot less expensive, so I had a little more leeway. But now I've really had to nail down my numbers, and I'm pretty happy with where I'm at. With my intended margin and how it's going. But yeah, so last year we really we're stacking it up and working on improving and adding more services and growing our team, which has been really important. And then we had a great winter this past winter. We started plowing commercially with the parking lots, picked up 5 lots, and then we had 100 houses actually for snow removal.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, we have it pretty good. So we have it set up to where about 80% of our houses are on a 1-inch trigger, and they're all in like basically 2 towns. So within 3 miles, within 2 miles of where we start from, pretty much all our properties are. 2 miles one way, 2 miles the other at the most.
Okay.
So we have it pretty dang good with residentials, which is why it's hard to get away from that.
Well, let me ask you this. Just to butt in really quick. What's the outfit looking like day to day today then? Because you said things are growing. You got two crews going or one crew? And then what are you guys running full time for landscaping and lawn care? What are you doing for snow removal?
Yeah, so this past spring, we had basically two crews. And as I'm sure some of you guys have listened before, the story, a lot of our guys are younger, college age guys. So really, we had about two crews since like late April, and then one for maintenance, and so one for maintenance that does more mowing, weeding, trimming, and another one that does more installs and stuff. But nobody's set on a certain crew typically. We kind of flow, and I like to have all my guys learn, do different stuff, and have different experiences. So basically, we've had two crews since late April, and we've been. I was able to, as I said, last year I was stacking it up a little, and this year I was able to make some purchases that I've been waiting for a while to do. So this year we added Dingo. We added two new trailers, the enclosed and an equipment trailer for hauling the Dingo, and then this truck, and then also and I also got a 37 horsepower Billy Goat. I think you have one, right?
We have the for the debris loader. Mine's the 18 horsepower.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair, man. And it is really cool to see all this growth that you guys have out of the company, man. I mean, I'm not in competition with anybody, man. And I know you're just having fun. But the Dingo is a dope purchase for you. I know that's something that you were super excited about when we were there. It was changed in the game for you because you. Well, tell me in your own words, because you said you were renting them, and I've heard Caleb Allman say this. I've heard Josh Sutton say this. Many guys that talk equipment. We had Dylan Stevenson, part of our Spring Shop Tour series. He was like, "Dude, I'm just renting these things all the freaking time." And what I guess, and maybe you can weigh on this, Christian, better than I am, because I don't rent this stuff daily. I just don't do a lot of hardscaping, landscaping like you guys do. But equipment availability. It used to be, okay, you can go rent it for $200 a day or whatever you guys were. But now it's seeming like even the rental fleets don't have equipment, and all these other people don't have equipment. So it was like availability plus all these rental fees. Is that what made you pull the trigger on this thing?
Yeah. So a couple of things were factors that made me pull the trigger, but one stood out the most is that how often we were needing to rent it.
Okay.
And, basically all in, you're like, $350 a day for a Dingo, and like if you have a trailer, for us, based on where we currently keep our stuff, it's like cheaper to just rent the $35 trailer that they include for $35 extra at the same time than getting your own and returning it to your shop based on where we're currently located. So you're basically $300 to $350 a day, and then you got to bake in another 30 minutes of, unfortunately our rental place is like 5 minutes away, but it's still at least 30 minutes round trip to get equipment, go there, get equipment and return it and then come back. So, and you're at the mercy of the rental place that opens at 7 for us. So,
okay, sure.
Basically we found us that we were at the point where we were renting a machine like 3 times a week in May. Even more actually, 3 or 4 times, and we could have used it 5 times a week because there's a lot of stuff, a lot of projects where it's just too small, and you're like, well, I want the job, but if I rent this machine, I'm not gonna make anything, and it's not gonna be a good price for the client. So sometimes it's just really nice to have a machine on hand for like a quick tree or something where you're just doing like a maple tree, a 3-inch maple that's 800 pounds, and it's like, well. For them to do pop this thing in real quick, it's going to cost them an extra $300 compared to, if I have my own, I can just put it on, the slate of work another day that we're using our own machine. So
yeah.
It was the factor that really went into it was frequency we're having to rent it, and then just kind of seeing the cost. It's like, wow, this could be going towards, we spent the whole monthly payment in 2 days or whatever. So. But yeah, so that was a big deal for us, that Dingo, and it's been really helpful. So,
let me ask you this, man: as things have been growing this last 2 years, are you still doing your full mow route? Because and if you guys are new to the show, sometimes when you jump on the podcast, you just jump in, you start learning the lingo, start learning guests and people, and we have returning guests. We've been doing the show now for I guess I think this is our third season, which is crazy because we got started in the COVID year of 2020, and then this is 20.
How was your first phone test?
Yeah, you were actually one of the. Yeah, you really were. I think you're like our second.
Episode 3.
I was gonna say, yeah, 2 or 3. Yeah, you.
2 or 3.
I think Dylan Stevenson was like number 2 or 4 or something like that. Like he was right before or after. So it's cool seeing the evolution of you guys for 3-4 years almost now, and 3 years on the podcast. So when people maybe last heard of, yeah, dude, because I tried to get over to Illinois, Chicagoland area last year. It just literally didn't line up. I was busy, then you were free, and then you were busy, and I was free, and and then I was doing so much behind the scenes, and I'm like, dude, I just cannot seem to get over there. And so it has been about 2 years. But last time we caught up with you, you guys were more of a mowing. You were doing a bunch of landscaping work, don't get me wrong. But you had, I thought, 50, 80, mowing accounts. Are you guys still mowing a bunch, or what's your business looking like today?
So since then, 2020, when you came over here last, we cut back on our lawns. I think we probably reduced our lawn route by about 30 or 40 properties. We were at around 85, and now we're closer to 45 or 50 weekly properties. And we've kind of trimmed off the fat, and any clients who didn't want us to do much services other than basically mowing. To be frank, it's really difficult unless solo operation or low overhead, 2-man crew. It's really difficult to make too much. And also I don't really I don't have a passion for mowing only. Right. I do like in moderation, and I don't mind a smaller route like we had, but for 80 lawns, that's like a 3-day route for us. That's a huge commitment. And it took away from time that I had to do the stuff I enjoyed, which is, installations, and that type of stuff. So we did slim back on our lawns, but we did definitely increase our landscaping projects and capabilities over the last couple of years. And it's been a great change of pace because if we have a tough week in the spring when we're really busy, we can still knock out those in a day with 2 crews easily, or even 1 crew if they go 7 to 7. Yeah. At least around here we got a real tight route, and our lawns aren't crazy big, so we can knock out quite a few in a day. So we have it set up really nice where we can do 2 days of 7 o'clock to 3 p.m. Not too bad of a day, and knock them all out in 2 days. Okay. So that's where we're at right now, and it's worked out really well.
I like it. Yeah. That's cool, man. That's cool. Well, let's do this really quick. We're gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna get a sip of water here and hear a little bit more from today's show sponsors and announcements. When we come back, I want to ask you a little bit more about the growth that you've had personally over the last 12 months, because you're doing college classes, you have a lot of education you're pouring into yourself in the industry. I know you went to a bunch of different events, which is really cool too. So I want to ask you a little bit more about how you're learning all these different things, where you're going professionally as you continue to develop yourself personally. So let's do this really quick, guys. Let's hang tight for just a quick minute. We're going to hear from today's show sponsors and announcements, and then we're going to come right on back.
Test before you invest in the latest mowers, blowers, chainsaws, battery equipment, and UTVs. Join us at Equip Exposition in Louisville, Kentucky this October.
Hey guys, it's Brian, and I got to tell you what, I just got done talking to the folks at Equip Expo, and they cannot wait to see you guys down in Louisville, Kentucky later this fall, October 18th to the 21st for Equip Expo. The Equip team wants to let everyone know to achieve their next breakthrough with the right mix of help and hard work. Equip Expo, formerly the GI Plus Expo, will feature 7 educational tracks and 25 plus classes, such as topics as sales and profitability, technology hardscaping, and their newly added pool and spa track. Plus, yours truly will be hosting an event on Thursday afternoon called Energize with Mike Andes, Blake Albertson, and Paul Jameson. If you guys want to join us at Equip, consider using our discount code to register for the show, where you can save 50% off with promo code Brian.
Register before the early sign-up discount ends by visiting equipexposition.com. LawnTOURpreneurs, you know the success of your business depends on your lawn care equipment. If it's not working, neither are you. Keep your mowers, blowers, and all of your other outdoor power equipment running smoothly on the power of the American-made Stable brand. Stable makes premium additives and performance chemicals that help you get the best out of your equipment so that you can return quality work to your growing list of customers. Products like 360 Protection will clean your mower's fuel system with one treatment, and Fast Fix will correct rough-running engines when you're in a pinch. The entire product line undergoes thorough testing, and they are backed by OEMs because they work together to develop industry-leading solutions. Head to stable.com, sta-bil.com, and use the code BRYANS20 to get 20% off and free shipping for your next order. Because at Stable, there's no off-season. Not as long as there's money to be made in the lawn care game.
All right, Christian. Well, we are going back to you, my friend. Let's talk about education, because you have been growing this thing like crazy this last 12, 18 months. So I know you've been laying the foundation and the framework, for years, dude. You've been cutting grass since you were like literally 10 years old, if I'm not mistaken, maybe even younger. So what are you doing today with, are you going to school? Did you decide to go to college route? And then when we were there in person, you were talking about all these different organizations you're a part of and participating in. Talk to me about that for a few minutes, because I know that would really help out a lot of the young guys. They're always wondering, where can I get educated? Where can I learn how to do the industry?
Yeah, for sure. So to start off, I am currently a student at our local community college. I'll just be, my second year. I'll be going in my sophomore year, and I'm taking, full load of classes. Which is 16 credits a semester. So last year, I did the same thing and it went perfectly fine. It's actually easier than high school to run a business, because you're not so constrained from, in high school, it's like 8 o'clock to 3 p.m. You're basically out of pocket, besides 5-minute lunch, 5 minutes between classes and 25-minute lunch. So at college, I had a couple classes a day at the most. So it was much more flexible in that manner. And I worked a lot more in the field, which is good. Okay. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm just doing my general classes. Before I probably head to a larger university within pretty close area for my final 2 years. I'm going to do the college deal and get a degree because I've trained myself over the years of being able to multitask and being able to take on that responsibility while we're running the business, and I'm just going to kind of knock it out and get it over with. So I don't have to, think about it, and I won't have any regrets in the future if I, decided, well, should have gone to college and got that piece of paper. I'm just going to get it done while I'm young and ambitious.
Cool.
So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. So I get a lot of questions about that on Instagram and a lot of DMs, and I'm happy to answer. So if anybody, ever has questions about balancing high school or college, feel free to shoot me a message on Instagram. But yeah, so besides that, for our more, I would say, trade-focused education, we're part of the ILCA, Illinois Landscape Contractors Association, where, it's like, you get your local, whatever, your group, and they have trade shows and, smaller than GIE, but a lot smaller. But, they get trade shows, they got education, they got events, networking opportunities, and that stuff. So, even as recently as last week, I was at this event called Fire and Ice that they had, which was, landscaping and snow removal. And they had, I think it was like 4 or 5 different sessions with these really, these like VPs or owners of these companies that are doing like snow removal, and they've got really large operations. And it was great to learn about them and how they operate, and it helped me learn about a lot about my numbers and how much it really costs to run a truck an hour, which is crazy eye-opening to me. Broke down, upwards of $200 an hour, which is eye-opening to me, because that's probably where we're really at in cost. So that was just an example of an education opportunity that I took up recently, and they had a trade show as well right there. And they got a lot of local networking opportunities. But some other stuff I've done through the school was in March, there was it may sound silly, but there's a landscaping competition, and this year it was in North Carolina, NC State. And I actually met like probably five to 7 other guys who came up to me from Instagram, younger guys who, introduce themselves, or, they're doing, whatever, horticulture or management, which is cool. But there were some competitions, and I did some operation ones, truck, trailer, skid steer, estimating, and some other stuff like that, which is kind of cool. And I did pretty well. Got second overall.
Nice.
So that was more of I definitely learned a good amount, made some good networking. But that was kind of a thing where my school was looking for some guys to go, and I was available, and I'm glad I did it. So
nice.
That was another interesting thing. So shout out to the guys who came up to me. But so that's kind of where I'm at. We're also part of a committee on the ILC. We're part of the sustainability committee, and we did some sustainable action plan things for our business. So that's cool as well. That ended up in June. So yeah, it's been a busy year.
That's awesome.
And always learning, always taking notes, always trying to improve, always talking to others in the industry. So yeah.
That's cool, man. That's cool. Well, no, I'm excited about you. You can hear the excitement and the passion in your voice, and it's just fun talking to you younger guys. You are so excited about learning the industry and really investing in yourself. I mean, that's one of the things that I keep trying to tell folks. They're like, hey, what should I do? The younger crowd, what should I do first? And I'm like, invest everything you can, reinvest everything you can, get around people that you can, join Facebook groups, go to conferences, go to live events, listen to podcasts. I mean, and frankly, most of this stuff wasn't really even mainstream until just 3, 4, 5 years ago. I mean, there's always these larger conferences, but if you didn't know of them, because, the internet wasn't around or something like that 10, 15 years ago, where you're accessing, a bunch of this information, you just didn't know. And none of your competition was going to tell you either, right? So, Christian, let me ask you this. Two questions here, and then it won't take too much of your morning. But number one, I wanted to ask, what are you working towards right now? It seems like so many young guys, and here's why I asked this question. You're my wrap-up guy for the LawnTOURpreneur series, and we've had literally dozens of extra younger guys reach out and say, hey, if you're coming through Indiana, Texas, Jersey, Illinois, literally everywhere, say, hey, next time you do a tour, if you need another guest, I'd love to show you my outfit. And so there's hundreds and thousands of kids watching, and I call you guys kids, but 12 to 18-year-old kids listening and watching all this content. And that's why I wanted to focus on this series for summer to help these guys get started, make some extra cash, and then maybe start a business. So let me ask you this. With all those young guys watching and they're starting a business, and you're kind of like on the tail end of that spectrum, you're like my last dude, like we're ramping up to somebody like you. What are you working so hard for? I mean, when you were 10 or 12, you just wanted to make some extra money, then maybe 15, 16, you want to buy a car, and then 17, 18, you're like, yeah, I'm going to, make some more money and buy a nice truck. But what's the motivation now? Because as you get older and you're 20, 21, then you're going to be 25 one day and 30 and have a family. What are you working so hard for right now? What's the vision of the company? Where are you trying to take this thing long term?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So I got a couple things in mind, but first of all, I'm really work towards building, I would call it a legitimate local company that's like ingrained in the community. So, I would love to have build a shop in 3-4 years or whatever, and have a nice building where we can have all of our stuff. It looks really nice. Everybody drives by like, oh, those guys, they have a great facility. Looks like they would do a great job on my property. I'm really hoping to have a foothold in our community and have something that looks really nice and a really nice building. And I think that once we have, indoor area to work and all that type of stuff, it will make first of all, it'll be, an asset and equity in the company. And I'm trying to grow something where it's it could be sellable at some point, and here's the idea. I would say there's 5 or 6 other guys in this community who started either in high school or college, where we are. And I know 2 of them have sold their companies after, 20 years or something. And for, 8, I guess it'd be over 8 figures, in the high, and they've done really well. And I'm kind of looking at them like, wow, that looks really cool. I would like to work, build something as long as I can, as long as it's exciting, and to provide eventually, I'll have a family, so it'll be, to provide for a family, but I'm trying to build something legit, foothold in the community, and Could one day be sold if I get to the point where, you know, I'm not enjoying it anymore, there's an offer that's too good to pass up, or if it, you know, if the industry takes a bad turn, wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of, I guess, what I've been thinking lately. And, yeah, so that's kind of a longer term goal and just kind of an outlook of what I'm thinking. But short term, I am, you know, I'd like to get a property in the next couple of years, at least to start. Maybe have like an office or something and have some land where we can keep our equipment. That would be nice. Hopefully in the next, I don't know, year or two, we can work something out with that. And then, and even shorter terms, I'm trying to grow my snow removal operation and get into a lot more commercial snow removal, and wean back on some residential, just because you can be a lot more productive with less guys needed in commercial. And, you know, I think we're going to have a tough time finding as many guys this winter as we did last year. And it's getting really competitive. So that's kind of where I'm even today, I actually I've been in contact with like 3 different companies, trying to get either, you know, kind of like you, or trying to get in their subcontractor program. I think I'm maybe in 3 or 4 now. So hopefully get some good sites from there. And also doing, you know, quotes for our own properties, which I'm hoping to get. So really trying to grow that snow removal operation with a new truck. I want to have a full route for that, and then fill out our route with our 450 as well. So that's where I'm kind of hoping to grow that, because snow removal is a passion of mine. Like, it's my favorite service by far out of all landscaping, you know, all the maintenance. I love snow removal. You know, you probably hear my voice when we're talking at 3 a.m., right? You know, on a random Tuesday night, we're talking, you know, just kind of shooting the breeze, and you hear me kind of excited, you plowing. So
I'm in the exact same boat, man. It's funny because when it's funny, like when you guys call me up, I answer because I'm plowing snow, you're plowing snow. If we don't get the same snowstorm, I'm not picking up the phone at 3 a.m. But there's many times when, like, you know, for example, you're over in Chicagoland, so you'll get that snowstorm, and it'll wrap up an hour or 2, maybe 3 hours before, you know, the clipper heads east to us. And so you'll call me and like, yeah, I got 2 hours left. And I'm like, all right, dude, we're just getting out there, you know. And I'll talk to so many people for 2, 3, 4 hours at a time. It's not even funny. But I agree. Snow's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. I don't want to paint it as just like, hey, you get a plow and you're like making money, because it's not the case. It can be if you surround yourself with really, really smart people, and there's a learning curve, no doubt, but you can on-ramp pretty quick. We've got some great snow resources, some great contracts, training programs, but I would really say you got to find somebody local who has a good snow outfit that can really help you. And it doesn't need to be a Troy Klug doing, you know, multi millions. It can just be somebody who's just a regional player, and he's been doing it for 10 years and can show you the ins and outs. I mean, my friend Mike Bedell, he does, you know, he's done very well with snow, and that's somebody that I bought many steak dinners for at Black Rock, little steak on the stone place, before I ever dropped my blade, you know, on the first snowstorm. So it's going full circle to what you talked about earlier, which was like investing in education and investing in learning how to do the business. So any follow-up thoughts on that, Christian?
Yeah, and one thing I would like to add to that is that if you guys are getting in, especially in this commercial snow removal, you should expect to do like as much work as, like, if let's say you're plowing, I don't know, 100 hours in the winter, you should probably expect 100 hours or more preparing for winter, and then another 100 hours throughout the winter, and at the end of winter, invoicing and closing your equipment, because there is a lot of prep work, a lot of maintenance work, and a lot of post, you know, cleanup and you know, cleaning your equipment and getting that stuff away. And for me, I find that that's all unpaid. I find that you know, right now is extremely time consuming, and I always say, like, you know, look, the first, you know, by the time I'm at the third snow, my time's been paid for all the time that I spent, you know, preparing for the season. Sure. And all the maintenance I've spent, you know, the parts, the equipment, you know. By the third snow, hopefully we'll be in the green, you know. So, you know, expect to have a lot of upfront effort before you see see your reward come through. Yep. And yeah, but it's also very important to have good cash flow in the winter. I don't beat a dead horse with snow removal, but you want to be careful with making sure you have the right clients. And, you know, some of these subcontractor gigs I may take on, like some some have like 90-day, net 90 or, payments, which is not good. So you got to have a really good cash flow. And which is one thing that I really like about the residentials is they pay when I set the date, or at least I try to get them paid when I set the date for,
right,
which is usually a week. I usually give them about a week to pay. But you got to have really good cash flow because, salt, breakdowns, equipment, you got to buy an $800 snowblower on a limb. There's a lot of expenses in the winter that you don't expect, and hope you have a good winter. But there's a lot of risk in snow removal, a lot of risk. That's what they call blood money.
Mm-hmm. Well, that it's funny you say that because I had an account and I was owed about $8,000 or $9,000 through even July, and we finally are starting to square this thing up. And with the threat of legal action, it happens to all of us. And it's funny. I got breakfast with Troy Clogg, and I'm like, hey, by the way, don't do business with this account. And he goes, oh yeah. He goes, we already went through the ringer with those guys like 5 years ago. I'm like, oh, it's like if I would have just asked, I would have stayed away from this one account. But any which way, it's getting resolved. And so it's, but you know what? Let that go on 4 or 5 accounts and you're owed 10, 20, 40, 50,000, which by the way is like Mickey Mouse numbers compared to some people out there that are owed hundreds of thousands. I was just texting a buddy of mine, Keith, and there's many of you guys are these property management. There's a whole nother podcast for a whole nother time, but don't let these guys out on a long leash. I mean, keep your accounts receivable 30 days, maybe 60, but the money and the liquidity in the market is just not what it used to be, guys. And so I'm learning this. I'm telling you guys this as well, and a lot of you guys have told me it's a game of hot potato, and a lot of these property management companies are just flat out not paying their bills. They're getting 60, 90, 120 days out. I just made a Facebook post this morning and somebody said Walmart hadn't paid their invoices since, I think January. He's like 8 months out. And it's like Walmart. And you're like, they're multi-billion. Yeah, but I mean, you never really know what's truly going on behind the scenes. So just keep people on a short leash, man. And Christian, that's the same thing. We're raising our residential rates just to deal with a little bit less of them because they're just a little bit more of a hassle and need a little bit more TLC. But you know what? We still try to take a few on because it's some better cash flow, and that kind of pays the bills until we get paid from the commercial stuff. So, hey Christian, really quick, we'll button this thing up because I actually got a pretty hard stop here at 1:00. But let me ask you this really quick: the best piece of advice that you can give these young guys that are starting off as teenagers, maybe they want to grow a larger company like you're putting together. Maybe they just want to make $5,000 extra summer cash and borrow a push mower, maybe upgrade to like a Toro Time Master 30-inch from Home Depot. I think you've had all those over the years. I think one of your first stand-ons was like a 36-inch Bobcat or something, right?
Yep.
And that was a huge, tremendous leap for you. I remember the excitement in your video, sharing that thing when we did your trailer setup maybe 3 years ago now. What's your best piece of advice for the Christian CNI if he was listening to this podcast, first time and he's learning, he's about to get his feet wet? What would be your best piece of advice to that young guy, maybe 8, 9, 10 years ago, you?
Yeah, so my best piece of advice would be to do really good quality work and have good communication with the client, because whether you're just doing it in the summer, whether you're or it's your full-time gig or it's a side hustle, free advertising is the best advertising. And where I'm at currently is 100% referrals. And I don't spend a dime on advertising besides I would call more indirect advertising, which is such as being part of my local chamber of commerce and other stuff like that, or like sponsoring events. But I haven't done any door hangers, I haven't done any posters, any yard signs or anything like that, and we're busy enough. And quality work will go for a long way. If your client's happy, you have good communication. Communication is really the first thing your client will notice. As long as you do a good job and you have good communication, there's pretty good chance you'll get the job. And if you do a good job, they'll probably send you a referral.
Amen.
So I would say those are like kind of the two heavy hitters of it kind of applies to everybody. If you leave a bad impression with the client or with the communication, or you don't do a good job, well, then you're not going to get any referrals from them likely, and they could unfortunately go online and post something bad about you, which would hurt your business. So those two things are really important.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. One follow-up question, other side of the coin. What's your best piece of advice for dealing with adversity? I'm sure you've dealt with a lot of it over the last 8 years, balancing a bunch of things all at once. What's your best tip for dealing with adversity or when things don't go your way?
I would say the best way is to just, you kind of gotta, it's really important to like look back at where you come from, because everybody will experience adversity. And if you're able to look back where you come from, look where you are now, and say, this hiccup is not going to stop me. You're going to learn from it, you're going to overcome it, and you're going to get past and grow. So if you can kind of take a step back, say, all right, I'm having a really tough season, or I really wanted that job and I didn't get it, and now it's set me back on the sales goal I have, and I can't get that truck anymore. Just kind of take a step back, see, where you came from. Remember you're doing $20 cuts, and look how much you've learned now. Say, all right, I'm just gonna grind twice as hard, get 2 more jobs, make more, or whatever, however it is. But I think that's really important, because even you and I were talking, like, about, you're trying to build a property, right? And likewise, I would like to get a property eventually as well. And we've had like challenges with, the costs are going up on everything, and so more fees, inflation, all that stuff. And like we were saying, like, it's really good to reward yourself once in a while, or just kind of take a step back and like see all you've accomplished in the last couple of years or months or however long you've had your business. And I think that can really kind of like light a second fire when your flames kind of smoldering out. That can kind of light the second fire and put you into 10th gear and get you grinding your gears to get to that next point and past whatever your challenge is. I think that's really important.
Amen. I love it, man. That's a great way to articulate it. I mean, look at yourself. You just bought a dingo that costs what, most people's regular car costs. And, I don't know if you saw yourself at 8, 9, 10, years old buying I don't even know what they go for, $40,000 piece of equipment. You know? I mean,
I'll tell you what,
crazy.
Brian, last year was a grind year for me. And if I had not bought anything notable, like, backpack blowers, a couple $100, it's not a big deal at this point. But since like May of 2020, I had not bought a new stand-on mower, no big equipment, no nothing, no property, no anything. And it was tough last year, because I'm like, I knew what I wanted. I knew what this year was going to look like if I worked really hard last year. And last fall, we were tough. We lost a couple guys, and we were down. I was working out there with 2 guys, and we were grinding. And I had some adversity last year, that was for sure, in the fall. And then got to the winter, and we had a good winter. So I think everybody goes through it, and I'm on the other side of it right now. And probably about to enter the next phase of that. But
right. It ebbs and flows.
I don't know, it's kind of like a up and down.
That's
but
right.
Everybody's going to go through it, and you learn and grow a lot from it. So I think it feels really good to have the equipment. Last year I was like, we can do things more efficiently. We can do things. I'm burning myself out every day. I'm lifting these 100-pound heavy leaf trash cans into the truck. Well, now we got a leaf loader we're using this fall. Oh, I'm lifting 200-pound wheelbarrows with 4 guys. We're wasting labor, and I'm super tired. Well, now we got a dingo. So, all that grit last year and working really hard has definitely paid off for this year. And I think it's an example that hopefully you guys see and will like take something from it, because everybody goes through it, and try to just get through it and work hard and get to the next step.
Amen, dude. Amen. You get that sweet victory, and we can totally relate, by the way. Like I'm right there with you. We've seen so many friends and people on social media and this and that, and with the house thing, it's like people are building their house, their barn, their shop, their barn dominium, and I'm like, and Liz and I are like, are we doing something wrong? Like, are we losers? Like it feels like you're in the desert sometimes, and
Totally.
And we bought a car, and we bought the new truck, but like, house-wise, like we're just still sitting here, and I'm like, we're like, do we want to just like settle? And I'm like, no, we have our plan, we're working, and we're making huge progress behind the scenes. But it just sometimes it takes an extra year or two, or talking about building things. I mean, that's from dude, even just, taking care of permits and stuff, it can take forever and it's expensive and things that you don't even think about when you're trying to build stuff. I mean, it's wild out there, man. But okay, well, we'll button up right here, man. I appreciate you taking time to be on the show. I wish we would have been able to grab this in person. If you guys are listening in, I'm 100% my word this year has been family. I'm trying to spend as much time with my family. I'm not going out of town unless I'm back on the same day. No company, nowhere, no way is getting me for a day or two overnight, unless they wanted to write a check for $15,000, which I don't got a lot of those coming knocking on my door. Okay, I'm not Mr. Beast. That being said, I told Christian, I'm like, hey, I'm going to come to Chicago. I'm in and out. Same plane that I think I flew I flew out on. It took him like 3 hours to wipe it down and refuel it or whatever, one of those deals. But so long story short, we didn't have the time to podcast in person, but we wanted to grab as much video as possible instead. So Christian, appreciate you following up with and being able to get on the show. And even though we did it by phone, we're all super proud of you, man. It's awesome getting these updates, and I'm sure we're gonna have plenty more to come over the years. But again, got to give a big shout out to Echo, Stable, and Equip for making all of this happen. Also, Equip is where I met Christian back in the day at GIE Expo. That was, what was that? 2018. Yeah, it was four years ago now. Isn't that wild? And we actually we're both at the Bobcat booth or somewhere, and then we said, you're like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm gonna go try to find some pizza in this massive facility because it was my first year. Had you been there before, or was that your first year too?
First year.
Yeah, it seems like everybody's first year was like 17 and 18-ish, So, but you and I, we and Liz, we ran over to get a slice of pizza. There were so many people. All the tables and chairs were literally occupied. In like the corner of like an emergency exit, there was these like 5 or so gangly chairs. Like one was missing a leg, one was missing a seat cover. It was like the actual pad that you sit on, and I'm like, what is going on? So we literally, do you remember this, Christian? We found like 3 chairs.
Yeah, no. We gave Liz whichever one of those most functional, and then we took the crappy ones, and and we were like, using our left foot to hold up the side of the chair.
Seriously, it was so weird, and it's like famous YouTuber and like kid extraordinaire lawn care landscaper Christian with CNI, and we're just humble beginnings, dude. No ego, just eating a slice of pizza on 3 broken chairs, and we're like, this is so fun. But anyway, it's blossomed into a friendship ever since, and Christian and I, we text almost every day, just ribbing and rabbing and growing together, man. So, all right, well,
and if you guys want to find me on social media, it's at CNI Services LLC on Instagram and YouTube. And if you guys are younger, I get every day I probably get 2 or 3 guys who are either starting their business or younger, high school, college age. Have some questions, just feel free to shoot it over to me and we can talk. There's a lot of guys in the local area, a lot of guys I've connected with, and quite a few of the guys Brian's actually interviewed for his summer series of the other guys like Ethan, Henrik, and what's the other guy? Buzzcut. I think you did for him, right?
We did.
Who was it?
We did Jake Berenga. We've had
Jake. Yeah, that's the Jake.
Yep.
He talked with me at GIE as well. So,
cool. Yeah, he's awesome.
I've been in contact with those guys. Those guys were kind of looking up to me a little bit. So that was cool. So, feel free to shoot me a message, and you can find me on Instagram and YouTube.
Awesome, man. Well, it's Candy C&I Services because your younger brother's Isaac. That's where the I comes from. If anybody didn't know, because I didn't know for the longest time. I'm like, who's the I in C&I? But so there you go. All right, man. Well, we'll button this thing up right now. We'll shut it down. I got to get running here. Actually, I got snow people calling me, so that's a good phone call to get back to. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks for listening to this episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast, and we look forward to catching up with you guys here on the next one.
When pros are knee-deep in tough fall cleanups, they reach for the world's most powerful backpack blower. The Echo PB9010 is a workhorse made of wind. A 220-mile-per-hour sidearm that powers through piles of wet leaves with ease. So when the clock's ticking and winter's on its way, the PB9010 gives you the power to clear more job sites in less time. Because there's power, and then there's Echo Power. Echo. Power on. And on.
Purchase the whole ball of wax now through the end of August and receive one free LAL 2022 admission, a $197 value. When you buy the whole ball of wax, you will automatically be registered for the event. No additional steps required. LawnTOURpreneur Academy Live is the event to take your company to new heights as you learn from industry leaders at this amazing one-day event. Act now. This free ticket offer to LAL 2022 and purchasing the whole ball of wax won't last forever. Go all in today and secure your seat for the industry's best in-person training conference in Novi, Michigan, Saturday, November 12th. The whole ball of wax includes all the training programs, documents, resources, and postcard designs at the LawnTOURpreneur.com and the ticket to LAL 2022. This deal ends August 31st, so don't delay. Tickets to the event can be purchased separately from the whole ball of wax promotion.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.
This has been a Brian Fullerton and Mr. Producer production.